Awesome. We'll see how everything works. Because welcome to Discussing Tabletop, everyone. My brain's working. Don't worry about it. It's January 20th, 2024. Wow. It's the dates in front of me, and I'm like not registering well.
Look, like you have that annoying mixture of sick and overworked.
Well, sick doesn't allow me to get as much done as I want to. You know, that's another thing. Is this week has been.
I don't know. Oh wait, why is my on? I realize my camera's not on. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like there's this distinct mixture of doing too much while sick, which makes your brain just click.
Be that way.
That's true. Anyway, we got a interesting docket of topics to talk about today, of course, for all of you who are joining us. There's the docket. I even have a deeper discussion topic, you know? I'm good that way. So we'll handle that first, and then we'll get into the other stuff, too. So I guess the best place to start is our occasional visiting of not something terrible from Magic the Gathering. Yes, it's time to discuss, hey, it's an actual new set. It has mechanics. We can look at them and be like, oh, that's neat, or that's not neat, whatever. You know, it's the actual gameplay section of this entire thing where we don't have to yell at Wizards for doing something stupid.
Woo!
I know. So
I like yelling at Wizards.
I know. They are stupid very often, unfortunately.
They make a lot of dumb mistakes.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one too, because they've basically brought Morph back. For anybody that remembers Morph. Except
Morph. That mechanic was so
yeah.
Good or bad? I don't know.
Weird?
What should I be going for? I don't know.
The old mechanic is you put down a creature for a morph card for 3 mana. It's a 2/2 creature, and then you can pay a cost that's on the side of the other side of the card, and you flip it over, and that was what Morph was, and it was an older mechanic, and they reintroduced it, and I think like Khans of Takira or something. I think it was a Khans.
Something like that.
Anyway, it's basically Morph except better.
Yeah.
You know, because the Morph creature also has Ward 2, which Ward is a keyword term, meaning you have to pay 2 extra mana to target it with anything that targets it. So
this is a double-sided card then?
Technically, no. You turn it over with its... the traditional way is you turn it over just the back of the card, you know.
Yeah.
But they also introduced in cons like a morph token you can use, which they have them in this set too. They call it a mysterious creature for a disguise. But yeah, it's just morph but better. So yeah, I guess morph decks will be back. I guess it's something you kind of get into nowadays a lot of times, is it's just that thing but better. Apparently they also have Cloak, which is different than Disguise.
Oh, I see. You have to cover a face-down creature with Finder card. Face-down creature that is Cloak. Guys. So basically, is it like a way to summon a more powerful creature or something? Or do you have to pay the cost of the creature as well? Is it designed to keep the creature hidden for some reason?
It's like, usually speaking, it's a little cheaper to break the disguise / unmorph it, if it has morph. So you pay like an up price of 3 colorless mana. And then for let's say, they show the Defenestrated Phantom. Instead of 6 mana, it's 5 mana to flip it over. So on 5th turn, you can do that. Granted, you could just play it for 6 mana also, but there were also creatures that, when they unmorphed, did something, you know, so there was stuff that built on top of that. In the same place, Cloak apparently is something else can cause things to become, I guess, disguised. So it's a keyword for, like, disguising other stuff. That the spell itself isn't disguising.
Okay, so the Cloak thing is a helper card that you basically just carry along the side that you can put on top of.
Yeah. The Cloak would be like, I use this...
Put in the deck.
Well, no, it's because they're all cards. The cards are in your deck, but you use the Cloak card to disguise, I guess it's anything, and
Oh, okay. Is the mysterious creature the Cloak? Well, I thought the mysterious creature was the Cloak.
Well, disguise is the first mechanic. I've moved down to the second mechanic, which is Cloak.
Yeah.
Which works with it. It's okay, yeah. So yeah, the mysterious creature would be the token you'd use to represent the Cloak, the disguised creature. But Cloak would be like, I cast a spell, and I can then disguise a number of creatures. They may or may not normally have a disguise cost. If they have a disguise cost, I assume you could play that. If not, you can play their normal mana cost to uncloak them. But I guess it's a way to get extra creatures into the battlefield with, like, expose the culprit. Because exile any number of face-up creatures you control with disguise in a face-down pile and shuffle that pile, then cloak them. So it's basically like if you're it's like you re-disguise your creatures.
Yeah.
Which again,
well, okay, so this is like you can do a bunch of cloak, or you can do a bunch of disguised creatures, cloak them, and then like you don't know what you're attacking. So you can have a weak one and a really strong one, and they have to guess basically, and they have to pay 2 mana to attack it.
Yeah, and then they would have to. That you could then undo the disguise and be like, surprise, you're attacking the one that I wanted you to attack or something. But, or again, like it's if there's a unflip like something that gives a bonus for unflipping, it's a way to reflip them and do it again too, I guess. So
yeah, I guess.
I don't know. It's interesting. Investigates an old one.
How does this? How, I was about to say, how does this affect me? But I can answer that. Oh, wait for that one.
You know,
I know blue's like bloated and.
Blue has a lot of stuff in it.
Blue is my favorite color, and if you hate it, you're a coward.
I do enjoy playing blue too, but I recognize that when you play blue, you are going to do mean stuff to people.
When you play blue, you have a lot of keywords, and they're all mean.
Yeah.
I just remember a thing I saw, which is like, if you have friends, if you want to have friends, don't play blue.
Yeah, blue is a very. There's a reason people hate playing against blue decks.
They're very aggro.
They're very rude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And green is like blue is just really
green is like big
confusing.
stompy boys.
Green is just really powerful.
Yeah,
in
green.
General.
Green's two strategies normally are either put really big creatures out or generate a lot of little tokens to swarm things.
This will tell you a lot about the kind of person I am. Most of my decks are black, blue, or white, red.
Yeah.
I play very, very aggressively.
Red is direct damage or just speed type creatures that oftentimes kill themselves. Black is all about like destruction of creatures / graveyard matters. Blue is just card drawing is the main thing, but a lot of like messing around with spells and stuff. And then white's kind of protection, kind of standard kind of creatures. We've had Investigate before. It was in like the one of the Innistrad sets. It creates clue tokens you can sacrifice to draw cards. They're neat. Nothing too.
It is originally from Shadows over Innistrad, yeah.
Yeah. And apparently they have Suspect. That creature picks up a new designation. Suspected. The suspected creature has menace and can't block for as long as it remains suspected. I guess there are things that give this like thing of suspected.
Yeah, like this card, the guy they're showing off, Sword of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
when he enters the battlefield attack, choose one creature. If it's suspected, exile it. Otherwise suspected. So if it has like the suspect on it, you can exile it, or you can just make it the suspect.
Which, I mean, the suspected creature at least has menace, which makes it kind of a difficult thing, because that's, you have to block with some creature of the same color. That's what menace is.
So, I'm gonna be real, this is a weird collection of rules.
Yeah. And there's also collect evidence?
Yeah, that's collect evidence. Yeah,
Controller, counter it unless its player exiles cards with a total mana value of 4 or greater from their graveyard. Oh. This creature becomes a... Okay. So it's an idea that you exile cards from your graveyard with a total mana cost of the number or greater when you're asked to collect evidence. So it's a Graveyard Matters ability.
Yeah.
You know, I think this makes a little bit more sense if you go down to the next one, which is cases.
Cases are sagas, basically.
Yeah, they're basically like sagas.
Which I like sagas.
Yeah, sagas are cool. It's probably like...
Yeah, but it seems like this is so like you do these things and then you do something, so I think there's cards that relate to it. I mean, honestly, I don't even know base Magic. Like, I know the base concept of Magic and how it's I don't know anything about it.
That's fair. I mean, every set is, like, pretty different in what it does a lot of the times.
There's some,
There's so many unique mechanics in Magic, it's impossible to keep track of all of them.
Like, there's a lot of mechanics that are similar to each other, like the... Disguise morph is a simpler one. We haven't got, but we've gotten other ones like I'm going to admit the collect evidence. It is a little different, but there has been mechanics like that where you exile stuff from your graveyard to do stuff. So it's not out there. It's got a funky name, but it's not out there.
And not every mechanic is good either. There's been plenty of really bad ones. There's plenty of just disgustingly broken ones.
Yeah, so apparently so I guess cases are like sagas, except they have an enter the battlefield.
Yeah.
A like cost to create that make it solved, and then once it's solved, it gets another ability. So it kind of enhances the enchantment, which is neat. It's a different take on a saga. I think that's not too terrible. So interesting. I mean, I'm gonna say this.
Something to investigate stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm like
it's a lot. If you don't play Magic, it's a lot to.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with like a lot of these sets with their new mechanics. They're not really great jumping in points a lot of times.
The best way to learn new mechanics like this, unironically, download Magic Arena, watch how it automatically does it. You'll learn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything in Magic Arena is resolved automatically, no player input.
It's just they don't have beginner sets anymore, so it's really hard to like.
You do get decks pretty frequently, but it's also only 1v1, which is, in my opinion, the worst way to play Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I prefer multiplayer too.
I prefer Commander or the big games.
Yeah, I am of agreement.
Most of what I know about Magic is from memes.
That's me with Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know Jake about Yu-Gi-Oh!
I
don't know.
I watched
anything
some
about
of the
Yu-Gi-Oh!
anime. It's not accurate, but I know some stuff.
Here's the thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! For me, and this is a fun story. I realized today I don't know what is actually from the Yu-Gi-Oh! TV show and what is from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged anymore. It's all blended together, like the jokes and memes.
Okay. Yeah, so I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Up until the 5Ds like era. After that, when they get into like the... So I knew the synchronous summoning stuff, but then like after that, like you lost me.
I just know to explain Pot of Greed, you have to play Pot of Greed. It's an old meme.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Pretty sure it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
I think it's fine mechanics. It's interesting, you know. Like I think that's the thing about it is. I don't know if this is going to be like a major return to Ravnica, or if this is just going to be like.
I feel like they're going to do this, move on, and they're never going to mention Ravnica again for a couple years.
And I mean, I maybe this is better. like, you know, just something simple and fun that we can like revisit a plane with.
You know, it's a fun revisit. They just got off their third big story that's been told like 3 times in a row. Because God forbid you have time to get attached to anything.
I think this is technically the fourth story arc?
The fourth big story arc?
Because it was the Apocalypse saga that ended in Apocalypse, was the first major one. And then they did sort of another one, kinda, that ended in the Time Spiral block.
Yeah.
And then they did everything up until War of the Spark.
I just know if you, like, look at the Magic... Because there's a timeline for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's so long.
I'm not gonna lie. The first 2 kind of story arcs were interconnected. I thought they were fine. They were spread out pretty well. We visited other planes. They did an okay job with it. Then our big major story arc is many years, War of the Spark. I thought that worked fine.
Great story arc.
Yeah. Then we have like 2 years and the Phyrexians show up, and I'm like, well, fuck that, you know?
Yeah, they did the Phyrexian twice.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed someone commenting on that. Like, no one, like, there's like 2 people that actually died in War of the Spark. Yeah. Kind of, you know, like major characters. I think there was some like minor characters that got turned into Phyrexians, and when they all shut down, they died technically, but whatever, no one cares. But like major characters, like oh, you know, Tamio got split in half, but her spirit lived on somehow, and you know, Nisa was like merged with a tree, but she's fine now, and you know.
The fear of ever killing off one of your characters, and it's very prominent in long-running franchises. I mean, War of the Spark did give us my personal favorite character, the Wanderer.
Yeah.
The Emperor of Kamigawa. She is awesome, and I love her.
You know, it's like, I think also in some of those earlier storylines, characters did just die, and it worked well. You know, in those, like, end stories. Like, Gerald and Urza both died really horribly.
Oh, yeah, I think the current storyline are the ones that finished, like, a bunch of people lost their sparks.
Yeah.
Because like, they don't really want planeswalkers anymore, I think. Because there's too fucking many of them.
I think they made too many of them, so their idea is kind of like to focus more on legendary.
I mean, spoilers, if you're not going to read the short story, the Emperor lost hers, so she's fixed now.
Yeah. But it's sort of like, I think there's like maybe 1 planeswalker per set instead of like 3 now. They're trying to keep it to like something like that.
I think like anyone notable lost theirs. I don't think so. I think the big ones still have all of theirs. Like
Nisa lost hers, I think. Like the ones
that Narset lost hers, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think no, I think Narset has hers because her significant other lost hers, the one from Ixalan.
I know Johnny still has his because they're never gonna get rid of a Johnny.
Yeah. And he got cured by the anti-Phyrexian lady.
Because plot. And you can't kill a Johnny because everyone likes him.
God. Anyway, that's complaining about Magic Story for 5 minutes.
The storyline doesn't matter to anyone. It's
okay.
What I
my eyebrows there for a second. So.
Yeah. Ignore the storyline. If you want to see some very neat lore, just go visit a plane and learn about the lore of that plane.
Yeah, go visit Kamigawa, because honestly, it's kind of the most interesting plane still.
I gotta admit, its old story from its old sets, as much as those sets weren't popular, still very interesting. Yeah. And like it's you know, like 1,000-year skip ahead, which technically those 1,000 years actually happened in the Magic storyline everywhere else, but when they invented magic technology, was really cool to make like a, you know, neo-cyberpunk.
I think my favorite card set.
Mm-hmm.
That or the weird Mafia one that came out after. I think
those are cool.
Those are very creative. And then they've done nothing else creative.
They're gonna do a Wild West one. That one, like, it's like I'm like, that could be interesting.
There's 2 ways
it's probably not.
That could be cool or offensive.
That's the problem, is I don't know which way it's going to go.
That could be really cool or really offensive.
It really could be. I'm like, look, you gave us like the cyberpunk, you gave us the mafia one, made it really work. You're gonna give us western. I really hope it works. I mean, honestly, their Harry Potter knockoff was fine, but like it was whatever.
Harry Potter knockoff.
It's Strixhaven. It's a Harry Potter knockoff.
Well, it kind of is. That's Manor. I don't really get the Manor set, but you know, I guess it's fine.
Apparently, we're going to Ravnica for a murder. I don't know.
For a murder dinner.
Mm-hmm. It's Clue, but in Ravnica. They probably put that out, or are going to put that out.
Yeah, there are clue cards for it.
Yeah.
You can get the lead pipe as a card.
Anyway, let's move on. There's some more topics that are not magic related. I know, it's so surprising. So, I will show off. Up on Kickstarter is Battle for the Realm for 5e. Which, again, like, whenever it's used 5e, you're assuming it's D&D stuff, you know.
I mean, I don't know, it could be 5e Vampire. Which isn't the 5th edition of Vampire.
It's not the 5th edition. There's too many things that are just, they're calling it 5e now.
It's good marketing.
I specifically had to put Ars 5e for the Atlas game because I'm like, fuck, it's the 5th edition of that. If I just say 5e, it's going to be confusing. And it has nothing to do with its actual 5th edition of a game, nothing to do with D&D, but it's going to be confused because of that. Anyway. It's the final book that completes their series of books that they've been doing in this Battle for the Realm trilogy, I guessed.
Look, I approve of this because I see a snake person on the front of it.
There is a what's their names? Marilith, is that supposed to be?
Yes, that's a Marilith.
Yeah. My brain didn't want to say it for a second. Like, brain, work, think of name. I mean, it's funded, so you know.
It's a 5e product. They tend to get funded very fast.
Yep, $7 will get you the PDF. So there you go.
Also, these guys are I think a pretty known publisher at this point.
Midnight Tower.
I think Midnight Tower is pretty known.
$13 also gets you like VTT materials. I'm not sure which VTTs you have to check under their campaign.
Details.
For
I would assume it like Roll20.
Roll20 is usually a pretty...
Probably Forge or Foundry, whatever the hell it's called. The one that's like really complicated to learn.
Yeah. So, where are you? Retailers, testimonials. It's somewhere in here. I sometimes there's just so much information I just never find where they're talking about something.
There's a lot of stuff in these, but they're selling a product, so they kind of have to load this stuff with information.
Yeah. Yeah, we've included a free VTT pack for tokens, gridless maps, and digital handouts.
Yeah, Roll20, Fantasy Ground, Shard Tabletop, and D&D Beyond.
Okay.
You can just keep scrolling here.
Oh, these pages go on forever.
Yeah, they put a lot of information in them.
So you are basically marketing yourself, so you kind of have to.
There's a lot of like little details that like if you need to check them and you want to check them, they're there, and it's important.
If you buy the book and you're not American, just make sure you check the shipping, especially if you're Canadian, because God, Canadian shipping's expensive at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it does say they ship to America, EU.
Always check the
Australia,
shipping cost.
Canada.
For example, estimated cost for shipping for one book for Canada is $20 Canadian.
So yeah, apparently this is the last book in their campaign, which was 5 books combined. So I'm guessing you could probably get like a package for like all of them.
I think they do have a package offer.
Yes, it looks like for $58 you get
PDFs of all of them.
Yeah. So if you want to do the entire I mean, it's impressive because it's only levels 1 to 15, but still, it's a lot of compendiums. It's probably the world. It's a lot of building of stuff. So
for the cost of one actual 5th edition book, you can get 5 books as PDFs.
Yeah, that will take you on an adventure from 1 to 15, and it's 800 pages.
Cool.
So.
Maybe I'll consider this later if I remember.
I always forget to touch these things.
I sometimes remember.
I'm gonna save this one. And probably grab a PDF one.
Yeah.
So I have a Ghibli-inspired D&D book that'll be on the way later this year from Kickstarter.
Cool.
Talk about it when it shows up.
Yeah, just let me know and we'll chat about it. Yeah. So, we got some new stuff from Green Ronin Publishing, of course. Hey, we got 2 things that they've put out.
Green Ronin?
Green Ronin, yeah.
I don't know. It sounded like you said Green Runnin'.
Sorry, I am a little stuffed up, so that's probably
that's probably what happens.
How dare you be sick?
How dare I, occasionally put this harsh in my mouth.
It was enough for me to be confused for a second until I remembered the book.
Oh, it's the Valiant Adventures. I remember reading about this.
Yeah. It's the, Valiant Comics version of it. We talked about a little bit. They put out a quick start for it, if you're interested.
Free kickstart. Don't mind if I do.
Yeah. Honestly, again, it's a free PDF. It's a quick start. It is using Mutants and Masterminds, but if you are interested, it is... I think we remember when we talked about it, it can be technically standalone, or you could use it with your other Mutants and Mastermind stuff.
Yeah. Yes, so it's like additions, but it's additions for this specifically. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Comic universe, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's a 39-page quick start. If you just want to dive into this, again, it is using the Mutants and Mastermind system, which is a superhero system that I'm pretty sure they also do here.
Yeah, it's like X-Men, kind of.
Yeah, I feel like Mutants and Mastermind is technically the simpler of the superhero systems. I have my likes and dislikes of both Mutants and Masterminds, and the other one from years ago was, my brain, Aberrant, which is now part of the Trinity system, so it's probably a little different now anyway, but that was the superhero system that was part of Trinity. They are a little bit like Besom and stuff, that you spend points for stuff. This one, I think, has a little bit of, D20 flavor to it, if you're more like that. The Aberrant was more of a D10 system, like World of Darkness stuff. So, I mean, it's both have their advantages, disadvantages. This one's based on the D20 Mutants and Masterminds kind of level of stuff. So, if you want to check out the quick start, see if it's your kind of superhero thing, yeah. And again, if you're a fan of Valiant Adventures, or Valiant Comics, this might be for you too. The other thing they released is, of course, a new book for the Expanse RPG, which I forgot that existed.
I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah, I had vaguely remembered it. It's using the modern age setting, and I think it is based on the actual Expanse show, or is it more than a show anymore?
I assume the books, which the show is based upon.
Yeah, I'm assuming probably the books. I remember I had to think about it. I'm I think there was more media for the Expanse, but I couldn't remember if it was what the
It's got 6 books and then a TV show.
Yeah,
and I think it's a video game.
Yeah, so this is we got an RPG based on it. So I guess you can have... I don't know how accurate the show was to the books at all. I can't say that.
The show pretty good, except for the last 2 seasons.
Okay. So generally speaking, if you are a fan of the show, you'd probably like this then, and or if you're a fan of the books, then if you want to get the RPG version of it, they're doing more stuff for it. Green Ronin still is. Now you can be a journalist in space.
It's a pretty good universe. It's also 9 books.
Okay, that's a pretty decent size number of books.
All of them very good, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
What is the series called?
It's called The Expanse. The first book is Leviathan Wakes.
Yeah.
You get to search that up to get the book series.
See, I remember the TV series, and I thought it was based on something, but I couldn't remember what it was based on. If it was a comic or something else. But it was a novel series, a book series.
It's considered one of the best sci-fi book series currently.
Cool. I guess they're doing more still.
Oh, the books are done, I think.
Okay.
I believe the last book released like 2 years ago.
All right.
2022 was the last one.
Might be the final one in the series. But you know, if you want to dive into it, there are more books coming out for the Expanse RPG. I'm not sure how many more they're going to do, but they're putting more out.
Well, the last novel was 2021. The last short story was 2020.
Okay. It looks as though for like they're doing more of these, which are trades of the Expanse, which are like doing smaller books like this one for the various different like jobs you could do.
Makes sense.
So that's a kind of cool thing, like, you know, that they're doing a series on. So probably expect more of these, and, you know, if you're interested in it, check it out. So, apparently, like, I think we had talked about this vaguely before. The Masters of the Universe by Come On Games. It's finally up on GameFound. I think it was going to be put on like Kickstarter or something was going on with it. But they finally actually put it up somewhere. It's live now. It's funded with 11 days left.
It is a He-Man product. People do like He-Man.
There's a lot of nostalgia for He-Man. I'm kind of middle about it because it was like
never watched the original He-Man, nor will I.
Same. I kind of want to.
I've seen She-Ra,
Look,
which I believe is the same universe.
Yes, technically. But did you see the original or the new one?
The new one, which was pretty good.
The new one, which was an actually good series.
Yeah, I've heard the original one was pretty bad.
The original one was just basically He-Man with a female person in charge, you know, kind of. Look, I'm gonna say it's very early '80s. It's even before my ancient time, but it doesn't mean it wasn't randomly on channels on TV. I didn't see all of it. I did see a couple of episodes about maybe about 10 years ago now, when a friend of mine and Joe's found for $5 at Walmart the complete He-Man series.
I mean,
it was
fair enough, right? $5.
I know, in like one of those bargain bin DVDs, like things. It's like, look what I found. Let's watch some, and we were like, God, you found He-Man.
That's how I watched a lot of. That's how I learned about Godzilla. Was a bargain bin DVD.
I will admit, though, there were some He-Man toys in my household.
Fair. I mean, it's the cultural touchstone of the time.
Yeah. I think we somehow upstairs still have like the Castle Grayskull set or something. Probably not complete, but I remember it was there. I think none of the figures are probably in good condition at this point in time.
It was definitely just a bit after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like I didn't have any He-Man stuff because like it was just a bit before, I should say, before my time. Like it wasn't like you guys, where it was like just the end of your time.
Like this.
To be fair, I'm younger than Tantus, even though it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest one here, you know, and it's like I was.
I mean,
I was. Yeah, Ninja Turtles was the one that I was.
Yeah, that was the big thing.
I'm this old.
I'm almost that old. Yeah, it was Pokemon and Ninja Turtles for me.
Yeah. That was the big thing for me. A lot of Ninja Turtles, kind of bunch of Ninja Turtle stuff from the original Ninja Turtles.
Same.
You know,
well, maybe not original.
You probably still had some leftovers of that because that lasted into the 90s. The original Ninja Turtles, with how many seasons it had. It was early 90s.
Like Ninja Turtles for us, and it's not like Ninja Turtles still aren't insanely popular.
Yeah. They just kind of taken different forms now, I guess, kind of.
There's also one very important thing to remember with me. I never had cable, so I was a kid who only got the stuff that was on
no, that's fair.
Free stuff, so it's all like, was Ninja Turtles okay?
I grew up with a lot of Canadian television because I live lived close to the Canadian border. And then 4Kids. If there was a 4Kids dub of something, I've seen it.
Oh yeah, no, I got a lot of the original Yu-Gi-Oh series. The problem is like everything that went on like the Channel 5 or whatever, the Channel 5 Saturday morning cartoons, like anything that was good got bought off by a cable network. So I only ever got, like,
it was Fox, WB, and then I think for a while it was either like ABC or CBS. One of them had the basic channels that had Saturday morning stuff. Because WB became UPN.
Yes.
So if people think about that. So yeah, it was WB when it was still WB, and Fox were like the real big ones. And I think ABC had like the Disney stuff. I think. Yeah, it did. That's right.
4Kids, I think, was Fox for a long time.
Look, I vaguely remember early Nickelodeon because I was there when the Nicktoons arrived.
If you've never, that's a super off tangent, but if you've never seen a 4Kids dub, you're missing out.
They are.
The 4Kids One Piece dub is one of the funniest things.
It's very bad, but bad hilariously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
the
my
problem
God.
is that like all I've watched of One Piece is the dub, and
Yeah, the dubs are notoriously still
I
kind of bad, I think.
I was always impressed.
Because 4Kids owns the right to dubbing them.
Yeah. I think that was Fox that had 4Kids, and it was
4Kids is Fox, and I think 4Kids still exists.
I will always remember Escaflowne because they took the first 3 episodes and made one.
Isn't that like the original isekai?
It is one of the original isekai. Magic Knight Wraith, I think, is still technically an oral, and there's one before that, technically. But Magic Knight Wraith is probably the more traditional isekai kind of thing, and I would definitely recommend that one. Actually, the first season of Magic Knight Wraith is actually really good. It's classic. It's a little bit of, like, isekai meets Magical Girl, but in, like, a very interesting way, and they don't have a lot of romance, because these 3 girls get teleported to another world where they become heroes and have, like... They find mechs. Yeah. It becomes a mech anime also.
So weird. The 90s and early 2000s were a weird time for anime.
Yeah, they got like magical swords and powers, and they're also like, okay, now that you have your magic sword, now you can pilot a mech to fight the great evil. Yeah. I definitely recommend that one. I've said about it. I had gotten a fan translation of the Magic Knight Wraith SNES RPG. I should play through that. It's a time. SNES anime RPGs are a hoot. But anyway, He-Man. It's funded if you're interested in this one. It's Come On Games. Oh. It's a good brand.
Shaolin Showdown. That was one of the really good.
Yeah, that Shaolin Showdown came out. Yep. That was probably, was that late 90s, early 2000s? It might have been early 2000s.
That was early 2000s.
Yeah.
It all kind of blends together.
It fucking really does.
Most of the ones I remember are early 2000s, because, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of more your time period.
It's when you were cognizant as a person.
Yeah.
I'm early 90s into late 90s where I'm kind of cognizant of stuff. So I'm definitely a little bit older than that. Just a little bit. But yeah, no. He-Man, I don't have as much nostalgia for it, but it was always a very interesting kind of thing if you're a big fan of it, or if you want to check out the game itself, it's funded. So I mean,
if you're a big fan of He-Man or a big fan of buff men, you'll probably enjoy it.
Buff men who just don't have clothes, because none of them have outfits really, for whatever reason.
It's very homoerotic of a style.
It really is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
I was going to counter it, but then I stopped myself.
I don't think there is a counter, fortunately. Or is that fortunately? I don't know. Unfortunately,
I mean, my first thought. Anyway, let's just move on. It's not hard because it's like if you really think about it, though, yeah, count it. It's weird.
So honestly speaking, I forgot it came out with Transformers and G.I. Joe, but the Renegade Game Studios is doing more My Little Pony role-playing game stuff. If you're interested in that, I forgot about it.
It's a product for someone.
It is a product for someone. This is the more official one because there's technically that. Actually, I think the thing is, this is like the third My Little Pony. No, there's the knockoff and another My Little Pony one, and then this one, which I think is different than the Tales from Equestria line. Oh my god! Just to confuse everybody, and also because
I've seen this. I'm sure this is enjoyable for someone.
Yeah.
I know there are plenty of people. I know plenty of people who like the show. I've never seen it in my life.
I'm too afraid to watch it because I'm afraid I'll like it.
That's fair. That's fair. I know plenty of people who enjoyed the show.
I probably slipped some kind of tongue there with something. Look, I think it was fine. I watched a lot of random shit. It was fine. It wasn't like really in my wheelhouse.
That's a very different TV show what Lightning just said.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very different TV show.
The thing is like, it definitely again, a lot of shows have their markets. They can be a little bit more open to more audiences. Like, I stuck with, Saturday morning stuff until, like, my teens and stuff. And
Bro, I still watch cartoons.
Oh, yeah, like, if there's a good one, I watch anime a lot, too, but, but if there's a good cartoon or something that someone wants to recommend...
I'm more likely to watch a cartoon, like Breaking Bad or whatever. I watched, like, one episode of Breaking Bad, and I'm like...
I haven't seen Breaking Bad, but I've seen all the Better Call Saul.
Look, Gravity Falls was
citizen
good.
Of the
Falls was great. So is his other show.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Blaze. Thank you for the resubscription. With pride.
Anyway, now that will now forever be in my cookies.
So yeah,
well, if someone buys the book and runs the game, I'll play in it.
I'd say the
play
same.
in it, It wouldn't be the weirdest RPG I've played.
Honestly, what I'm curious about is like who the target demographic for.
Oh, there's like
that is.
It's like an adult community of people who love this show. I'm pretty sure.
I think
I know, but it's like if you think about it, it's like generally you'd still want it to be like, especially if it's put out by like official people, you'd still want it to be.
I imagine it's very kid.
Yeah,
I imagine it's very based towards kids.
Yeah, this one might be more of an all.
But there is
ages.
Quite a large adult fan base for the show because the show was on in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It's been on for a long time.
Yeah, but it's the more recent.
I say show. It was a toy line that was then made into a show.
It was very He-Man, the original.
That's
one.
how TV shows worked in the 80s.
I swear
TV shows were advertisements to sell.
Yeah. I must have seen some of those older ones.
That's why they were profitable.
Because again, like, I remember in I guess syndication it would have been, I saw some of the old He-Mans. I swear I probably saw some of these and other weird cartoons, but I can't remember shit about most of them. Like, there have been a couple of times when, like, I think, like, Blaze was, like, just because we were, I think it was, like, before a game, he was, like, put on a bunch of, like, those old, like, intros to cartoons and stuff, and I was like, I remember that one now! I forgot that one existed! Wow, that was a show!
Me with obscure PS1 games.
Shows, like, tickling the back of my mind right now, and I'm all like, man, I saw so many of those, and, like, were any of them good?
Oh no, they're all pretty bad now, I imagine.
Nickelodeon, I always remember, had a show with koalas that's actually an anime that I actually found out about, that it was an actual anime like later on, but it was like this weird show with like interdimensional koalas or something.
I remember
with kids.
that one.
Yeah.
Oozles?
That's a different one.
Oh, okay.
But
I just
still,
looked up Koala show Nickelodeon.
that
Adventure of the Little Koala.
that's probably the one,
Yeah.
which is it's an actual anime. They're like, I learned about that later on. That's an anime, and I'm like, oh, shit, really? Like, because the thing is, I couldn't remember enough of it. Anyway, speaking of 5th editions, as a segue here, so Atlas Games is going to be putting out this year. They've announced they're doing a 5th edition for Ars Magica.
Sorry, I like Ars Magica. It's
never
terrible,
played
but
it.
I love how terrible it is.
It was first published in 87, then by White Wolf, then by Wizards of the Coast, who sold it to them in 96. They published the 4th edition, and now there's going to be the 5th edition. So
I'm curious if it's going to be more or less or equally complex.
I don't know. That's an interesting thing about who owned it. It was like the first people published it, then White Wolf had it for a while, then Wizards had it, who then sold it in 96 to Atlas. Also, Atlas is from 96? Jesus, they're older than I thought as a company.
Yeah, Atlas is an old company.
Wait, no, it's definitive edition. They already have a 5th edition.
Yeah, there's already a 5th edition. They're just reprinting it. And probably updating it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a little different. I'm like, oh, a new edition. But I'm like, wait a second.
Oh, they're doing stuff with the open license too. So basically, they're pulling a bit of Pathfinder with that too. It seems like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're doing a definitive edition.
Yeah, it sounds like they're doing something for ours for what they did for what Pathfinder did for their second.
It'll have an open license on the project.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Okay, so it's just gonna be the same thing.
Man,
I was like, man, a new Ars Magica. I'd love to get my hands on that. But
yeah,
no,
last one came out 2 years ago, apparently 5th edition. So it's actually not that old. It's so hard to tell sometimes in these announcements. Sorry.
Oh, no. 5th edition.
2004, baby.
Yeah.
It's 20 years old.
5th edition is old.
Really? Is it really 5th edition?
Yeah.
Is 20 years old?
Yeah, it's old,
I
man.
thought it was like 20. I thought it was like 2014.
2004.
Are you sure it's 2004?
The Wikipedia page says.
Okay.
Jesus. Makes me cough. Man.
Things are older than you remember. It's usually how it goes.
By the way, want to know how I first found out about Ars Magica? Minecraft mod.
Nice.
There's a very popular Minecraft mod built around the concept of Ars Magica.
Look, I'm definitely aging live on TV. It's the minutes are going by. That is a fact.
Say things, Tantus, that'll turn you to dust just by mentioning their age now.
I already know the age of some of these things.
Remember the anime? You remember the anime Death Parade, Tantus?
Which one's Death Parade?
It's the one where they're in the supernatural bar that's the afterlife, and they play games to get back to life or something.
Oh God, yeah.
Anyways, it's 10 years old now, and I learned that today, and it upset me.
That's
anyway,
not so
shame
bad.
on you
Like,
for getting my hopes up.
it's like the fucking original Turtles is like 30. The original cartoon Turtles is like 35 years old now, or 30.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, that's like that just puts me feeling like, oh God, that's like on during my youth. I don't remember if it was new or syndication, but it's on during my youth. Oh God. 35. Yeah. Wow, this edition's actually 20 years old now. So I guess a definitive update is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. An update of the rules. I mean, like, you'll never have more complex magic rules in a game. But, well, except for maybe Mage, the Awakening, Ascension, whatever.
I guess it's the idea that they don't really need to update the entire rulebook. They just want to, kind of streamline a lot of stuff, so...
Honestly, yes. Like, I think the best thing they could do is make the building rules a little bit easier to access, because there's so much flipping back and forth for that. So you have to access, 3 different sections to, make anything make sense. Oh gosh, and the fact that you can do any of this on the fly, I'm like, you have to like memorize this book to actually play this game properly. It's ridiculous. Because it's like, you can cast magic on the fly, I mean, you can create spells on the fly, but creating spells, like, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know everything by heart, it takes like 30 minutes to craft like one spell. Looking through the rules. So it's like the most ridiculous system ever. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go cast this one thing real fast, and then it's like, oh, okay, hold on, how do I do that? Okay, what are the rules? How much mana do I need?
So this could be kind of like a 5.5 edition, kind of almost, but we'll see how it goes. It's 20 years after, so it's kind of hard to tell. But that 20 years is pretty long before you're getting a new edition. So, hey, you know, hopefully it's a good update for it, and they've been working on it for years.
I need to run an Ars Magica. I'll put that on.
So, just last year, I learned that Funko Pop had a board game division. They kind of don't now. Here's the Dicebreakers article, and then I have the link to their announcement on their page. I have both of these. I will link. So it's basically Funko has effectively... no, this was a link to another article, I think, that was linked in the Dicebreakers for the announcement that's got it there. So those are the two links there. If you want to check it out. They signed a multi-year agreement with Goliath Games to basically publish and distribute the stuff based on their things. And it sounds like they're kind of cutting down a lot of their stuff because it looks like they had a hard year last year. They had to lay off a bunch of
as a company has been losing a lot of money.
Yeah.
Probably because people have realized that Funko collectibles are disgusting to look at.
Yes.
Yeah, they're horrible to look at, and you'll never be able to collect them all because there's too many.
Yeah.
They did saturate the market pretty heavily.
And unlike a collectible card game, you can't do anything with them either.
No, they're plastic that's useless.
Yep.
And they're ugly, and they're like honestly one of the worst things I've ever seen. I've seen people with like too many of them, and I just had to be like, man, you could get like a proper figurine for the amount of money you spent on this trash.
Yep. Here, let's make this 30-cent like piece of plastic and sell it for like $15.
Yeah.
Collect them all. We have billions.
They're Beanie Babies for millennials.
Yeah.
At least Beanie Babies are cute, fluffy, and
yeah. At least
pile of them.
Beanie Babies also retained value somewhat.
Yeah. So, yep. If you're interested, those are the two: the Business Wire article, which is more on the business side, and of course the Dicebreakers article. If you're interested in it, it's an interesting transition to basically.
As Goliath Games made.
Goliath Games I've heard about before.
As of 2023, it doesn't specify when in 20. Oh, as of September 2023, there are 13,741 Funko Pops.
Yeah, that's too many.
Sorry, 13,000 pieces of garbage. Unique pieces of garbage.
Actual trash.
Goliath Games seems to be a little bit more family-friendly, organized for when it comes to board games, which is fine.
Yes, the most family-friendly board game, Oregon Trail card game.
I was looking at like the dragon snacks and stuff like that.
Why is there a card game of this atrocious video game?
Yeah, this is definitely more.
Yeah, it's.
Beware the bear. Oh, you have to see the Oregon Trail one now.
I mean, assuming this is the same Goliath.
It might be.
Called Virus.
Yeah, I found Goliath Games. Should be the same one. I guess they've had a lot of growth of acquisitions of smaller companies and stuff like that, and been doing a lot of like. I guess they're expanding their board game reach and stuff too to become. They're trying to become like a bigger group within it. I guess very Asmodee for like kind of like Asmodee before Asmodee was eaten up by yet another person.
Yeah, Asmodee got eaten by Embracer, which was the feared fate of all companies, and then Embracer's kind of imploding now.
Yeah. So who knows what's going? It's just one of those weird things. Is we don't know what's going on with Asmodee or any of Asmodee's many subsidies that they already have brought up.
I do know. I can talk. Asmodee got brought up, so I can legally talk about this. The company that got the rights to the Star Wars role-playing game is now doing reprints officially.
Okay. Is that the one that Fantasy Flight had?
It's the Fantasy Flight one, yeah.
So Fantasy Flight technically doesn't have that anymore?
Fantasy Flight doesn't exist anymore. I believe they're gone now.
That's weird because their website keeps updating.
I believe they were absorbed and like a lot of their rights got shifted.
That's
because Edge Studios does Star Wars now, and they've done a lot of reprints for it.
Yeah, because like under the news on the Fantasy Flight website,
they got consumed in 2014 by Asmodee. They've just been kind of spreading out the IPs to other companies.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies, yeah. I mean, a lot of companies will keep their subsidiaries.
They still exist. They still do the Lord of the Rings card game stuff.
It just looks like they do like the card game stuff is all they're doing, because it looks like Arkham Horror card game, Star Wars
board games were shifted to other companies.
I guess their board games and RPGs were shifted off, and they're just doing card games now.
Yeah. But they are doing reprints of the Fantasy Flight Star Wars game now.
I mean, good. I mean, you know, it's...
Maybe we'll get another book.
I didn't think that was a bad Star Wars system.
It's legitimately one of the best... in my opinion, it's one of the best role-playing games.
It reminded me a little bit of, like, with the Dark Side, Light Side, it reminded me of the Momentum and Threat system that was kind of in the 2D20 systems, but it had a lot of those interesting dices and stuff, too.
Yeah. The big reason they couldn't get the games going is actually because the dice maker contract ran out and they had to find a new one. Because the dice are very special prints for the role-playing game because it uses special dice.
Yeah. Well,
but as of last month, they're reprinting books.
The tabletop industry continues to morph and move around, so...
Weird.
We'll see more of its changes.
They also still have Twilight Imperium.
They do, yeah. The game I will never play because it takes too long.
God.
I'll play it once.
I've played Risk, and it took too long, and I know Twilight Imperium is longer, so I fear it.
I mean, I played Risk once. It only took like 2 hours.
Risk takes forever if you're bad at the game.
Yeah.
Or it goes very fast if you're bad at the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's why it only took like 2 hours, because one friend actually knew what they were doing, and the rest of us didn't.
You could just use normal dice instead of extra things. Yeah. Dice system wasn't like... Yeah, I think the dice system was confusing, and that made a problem. It's sort of like trying to like transport it over and stuff. It's just... It's a process. But anyway, last week we talked about Janelle Chiquez passed away, but apparently there is a big memorial being done for them. So it is a Mega Dungeon Game Jam. It's also a memorial and fundraiser, in which you are supposed to create rooms and tiles for a book that will invoke the layout and style of the Caverns of Thasia, which Chiquez authored. And will raise donated to the family. The resale of the book will benefit Trans Life, Trans Lifeline. So it's a pretty good thing now that's going on. That I guess there's also like towards the bottom of the page. There's also a link to a GoFundMe page here if you want to look into it. But also if you were interested in the Game Jam and fundraiser, it's going on now. I thought that was a very appropriate thing to kind of shout out here when I saw it, because we talked about the, loss of a good person from the tabletop industry. Definitely.
Literally one of the most important people in the tabletop space.
Yeah, did a lot of really great things. So, and the video game sphere too. So, you know, it's a good memorial benefiting the family and some, you know, other good things. So check it out if you're interested. I don't know if there's much else to say after that, you know?
I'll say one thing that you might not know. She's literally the reason Quake exists. She was the lead level designer for Quake.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of the best first-person shooters ever made.
Which also went on to...
revolutionize the video game industry in many, many ways.
Yeah.
That's why we use WASD, because of Quake.
Thanks, Quake. I'm fine with WASD. That's fine. It helps. You don't have to have your hand in weird positions then. It can, like, it's a good idea. Look, someone had a good idea at some point, you know, and the Quake is there. So, moving on to Star Trek Adventures, to kind of end us on our main tabletop stories. We got a little bit more to talk about, but, you know. There's a free adventure, or mission brief, the Kinnemer Accords, which is more for a Klingon game, for the Klingon book. So, they put out the Klingon-focused Star Trek Adventures book. This feels like this one is more towards that. So, the packet has 10 mission briefs for Klingon warriors following the disaster at Praxis. It's made for motion picture era, so it's post original series, but by slightly, you know. So that's kind of where it stands in the timeline. But you could adapt them for other eras of play, you know, as usual. But
so it was kind of the period where Peace was made, the Klingons, or just before Peace was made?
This would have been like, I guess, because the Peace was made because the Klingon moon of Praxis exploded.
Yeah, basically, it imploded.
And this is supposed to be like post Praxis. I guess depending on the mission, some of them might be pre-Accords, someone might be post-Accords, but it's right around that area. So it's like, I guess.
Okay, so it's the Klingon collapsed before they joined the Federation.
Yes.
Well, it made peace with the Federation because they're technically still kind of independent.
True, you're right. I mean, yeah allied with the Federation.
Yeah. So, it's an interesting time period to be playing, certainly. It's probably a lot of upheaval within the Klingon Empire, and you got some missions for it. It definitely sounds like a great time to have a lot of these little missions, and I'm always glad when they give us these books that are like, here's the basis for 10 missions. Knock yourself out. And the price is right for $0.
Yeah, I think I might. Honestly, part of me is also just curious, like, because like the Star Trek Adventures, like, I feel like the one thing that's weird about Star Trek is how to play it. It's like the rules are fine, but then it's all like, so how are you supposed to play this?
The thing about Star Trek Adventures, is
it's hard to explain.
It is very hard to explain because it's sort of like, if you're playing as just traditional, like, kind of Federation style game, you kind of have to understand what they're going for with the Federation and Star Trek, which is not always easy to explain.
Yeah.
You know, if you like, it's like if you watch a couple of the shows, you might pick up on it a little bit, but it's the kind of thing that there's an entire feeling and a way of thinking that kind of you have to kind of determine for this here.
Alternatively,
you have to be a part of Starfleet, and you have to fit a certain model of like person.
Alternatively, you can do what I do every time Tantus runs Star Trek one shot, and I just make a Galaxy Quest character,
which is basically Star Trek, so it's fine.
Galaxy Quest is the best Star Trek movie.
Yeah. I mean, I do have to admit that it still is the best, but there are some pretty good ones from the original series movies. Not all.
I only know the one with the whale.
That one was fine. I think the second one, like Wrath of Khan, I think that's a really good one.
The one with the whale and the one where like Patrick Stewart is a hyper murderer dude with guns. The weird next gen action movie.
They're all weird next gen action movies because Patrick Stewart just wanted to do things.
I love Star Trek series set in the Star Trek universe. or heck, even a game or a book series set in the Star Trek universe that has nothing to do with Starfleet.
Well, I think that's why like the Klingon book's pretty good, because the Klingons might be allied with the Federation, but they are an incredibly different culture, you know.
Oh, 100%,
and
yeah.
it's also the important thing of like, I do like, because I've seen some people rewatching Next Gen, and I've been watching a podcast based on it, because there's a lot of podcasts that watch that. But the one thing that they reflected upon is, when you see Worf, who's all about the honor and very Klingon, he's a Klingon looking from the outside, trying to copy the Klingon. But as soon as you deal with actual Klingons, honor is there, but they're also like very political and very selfish. It's sort of like
backstabby.
Yeah, it's sort of like they have that thing of honor, but it's also like, yeah, it's like the culture. It's an old culture. There's a lot of corruption and stuff like that. So it's a very much more interesting, dynamic culture than just like we're honor-bound warriors and stuff like that too.
Worf is very much the positive aspects of Klingon culture.
Yeah.
Versus the negative ones.
Because he wasn't born into it and could look at it from the outside and be like, this is what it should be, you know?
Yeah, but he wants to be a part of it, so he's trying to be good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, but so it's just kind of like, to me, where it's just like, or it could even be like it's like a thing about like a colony, like a new colony sent off into like a, you know, something that's just not about, you know,
I'm sure you could
ships
do
and Starfleet.
You could do like a
I'd love to see,
colony-based
like, a book or an
adventure.
adventure.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm not saying like running a game. I'd love to just see something like put out by some official group. Where it's
there
like,
might be Star
book
Trek
or
novels
movie.
out there. But the thing is, there's a
Yeah,
lot
where
of
it's like-
novels, so
You know, they're trying to build a colony, and it'd be real interesting just to kind of see like the take outside of Starfleet.
yeah. No, definitely there's a lot of stuff for just because the Federation's different than Starfleet, so just like a Federation-centric story. There probably are some out there. You just have to find them. And again, like I'm not sure how good or bad they are until you find them, but you know, it's sort of like they're probably out there. Memory Beta would listen to them because that's the like all the novels are technically non-canon quotation marks, so like that's where you'd find a lot of those. Anyway. And the final thing is something that you had shown us, Momo, which is the Wizkids is someone's celebrating 50 years of D&D. Well, I guess technically Wizards is doing something with something okay since they're putting out their 50th anniversary book. You know,
yeah,
which actually looks good. But this is like also a 50th anniversary thing that seems nice, which is a miniatures booster set that's gigantic. You know,
it's a really big booster set.
Yeah,
60 figures.
It's a lot.
They all look pretty nice, in my opinion.
Wizkids does a really good job on miniatures and stuff too. I'm not gonna lie.
This is derpy looking dragon. I like it.
That's your 1E dragon, red dragon there.
I know. It's just
Like,
so derpy.
these are the 1E versions of these creatures.
They're very derpy.
They're a little dumb.
I mean, some of them are cool, but like then like some of them, like the dragon is just so like. Oh, and they have the dog kobolds. I like.
Yeah, kobolds used to just be dog people.
Yeah, I mean that's more their. So kobolds have like 3 things. So there's the like goblin-esque folklore ones. Then you've got the early D&D or early fantasy kobolds, which are more like dog people. Then you have the current fantasy ones, which are the dragon people.
It's always an interesting thing because it's sort of like until I see it, I keep forgetting. In a lot of like fantasy, both isekai and non-isekai, a kobold shows up. It's a dog. It's like a wolf or dog person. They have it in like the. It's as if like because again like I guess like it's not the same clicking of like D&D is not as popular. So like it's old D&D. They're thinking about.
Japan stuck a lot more. In fact, it might have come like as a blend of something from Japanese folklore. I don't remember.
Well, there's definitely some of that in a lot of fantasy stuff that we took into.
So a kobold, as a fun fact, in traditional folklore, kobold, goblin, hobgoblin are all the same creature.
Yeah,
they're all weird little dogs.
That's what I said.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, their doggishness is debatable. They're more like
dog. Anyway, so that's the last thing for our main topics. We have a deeper discussion topic that relates to, I think, what you guys are suspecting, you folks are suspecting on Wednesday, because of something that happened. And it's something that I wanted to talk about because it is a part of games that can happen, which is your mass diseases, curses, and afflictions. Because that is a big, those are major storylines. Like, oh, there's a plague outbreak, or oh, this town is cursed, or this something is happening to this town, you know, that you have to, as players, solve. Which, you know, you tend to avoid because you're player characters, but also, like, you know, this thing that's going on. So, but it is, like, a pretty traditional story point for a lot of times, you know? I guess
hold on. So, I just want to go back to the kobolds thing real fast.
Mm-hmm.
So, apparently, the reason dog-headed kobolds blew up so much more in Japan is because of the Wizardry video game series. Super popular in Japan, which had the dog kobolds in it. Whereas, like, D&D was more popular in the West, and that's why we have the lizard kobolds. Because,
yeah. Wizardry?
Yeah, Wizardry isn't old. I played, like, one of the Wizardry games.
I never played any of them, but I remember them. But I do remember them. But yeah, so have either of you used a lot of, like, this town is cursed, this town is plagued kind of stuff ever in your games?
So usually I don't, because then I have to deal with the fact of what if the player character does something and gets the plague. And then I'm like, well,
I mean, like,
good luck, buddy.
I guess, like, the curse kind of aspect, like, if you're outside of town, it's harder for you to get the curse, you know, so it usually works a little better, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've run Curse of Strahd, so, yes. Yeah, let's see. I mean, yeah, Curse of Strahd does have a bunch of that. Then you got like, I did in one of my games have a ship that was under station that was under quarantine that the players went to visit.
Yeah, we did visit, but it was like, again, like, that was an interesting one because it's sort of like, I think one of us could maybe be infected by it, and it was like still like a
only
low
one
chance.
of you. No. Anyone could be infected, but only one. It was only dangerous to one of you because it was all like the species. The one species had like they're the ones who like died from it, whereas the other species, well, humans. I think everyone else was a human. So it's like the one person who was
I was the only human, actual human.
Oh, no, you were. There were two humans.
There was a second human. I could not remember if there was a second human.
The medic was a human.
Okay.
Then there were two aliens. But yeah, it's only one of the aliens could actually die from it. The other ones could just get sick.
It was honestly hard to remember who was what a lot of times.
I think my opinion.
Oh right, there was also the drone. Sorry, there were three aliens.
I think my opinion on disease and using disease in tabletop is heavily skewed by the fact that I've had nothing but horrific times with disease in Pathfinder. Like points at the Carrion Town game where our witch was out for like 3 sessions because of filth fever.
Yeah, so
no, because we couldn't afford. No, because the clerics kept failing to check to cure the disease.
I think it's the thing that, like, okay, individuals can be removed disease, like, everybody's suffering, the cleric can't really keep up with it. Maybe
yeah, when our Kitsune also got mummy rot, and we had to pause the entire game to go cure that.
That was kind of... I think they're just... Like, that's just, like... I feel like that's problems with older editions when it comes to the uses of afflictions and stuff too, which I agree. Afflictions in older editions certainly have some issues.
Afflictions are basically just here's a thing that I have, like, and that's why I used the quarantine station. It was something you guys had to figure out how to deal with. It wasn't just you guys are here, you can get sick, you know, it was like, okay, this place has an outbreak and it's under quarantine. But you guys need to talk to someone on the ship. How do you go about it? It was something to work around. It wasn't meant, like, honestly, as long as you guys were careful, you weren't going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
As long as like the wolf guy didn't just say, I walk in, no suit, and start licking things, then I might have had him roll. But
I think it's also the thing, like, you know, again, like, a lot of times these mass afflictions have to be done in such a way that it's not an easy solve, which can happen. You know, you can have, like, our town is cursed. Okay, it's not an individual is cursed. It's not so easy to cast remove curse because it's an entire town. You know, you usually have to find the underlying cause of it to be able to remove it, kind of things. So it usually requires an investigation, or, you know, whoever the source of the curse is to kind of stop them. So I feel like that's why when it comes to mass things, cursed stuff, like mass curses, tend to be the easier one to use.
Curses can be more interesting because they can be more of a problem to solve. A disease, you either wait it out, die, or cure it.
Which again, like, in an idea that, like,
oh, what's causing this curse? Okay, I may be affected by this curse now because I entered this area, but now it's our goal to fix it.
I think it's also the idea that, like, something like a plague can be, like, depending on the size of if it's like a small city, definitely then it's like there's not going to be enough clerics to cast remove disease enough times to keep up with, you know, the people that are getting sick. So usually then, like, finding, like, a cure or something might be a little bit more better on that one. But yes, then you might be exposed or something to that. So it becomes part of the entire storyline a little bit there too.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways to handle it, but in most role-playing games, you get diseases and they're basically just mechanical things that are like, this debuffs you. And that's problematic. Funny enough, a system like Traveler is actually, it's probably less interesting because Traveler's unique because there's a lot of downtime in Traveler. So you can actually, if it's not a deadly disease, it can literally just be, okay, we have to wait extra time for this character to get better, and that's the downside. Which could be bad, but it also could be like, okay, this is just a complication. I just don't think that, like, or like what I did where it's like but like games like Pathfinder tend to be very like, you just go. And so and also the diseases in Pathfinder, you don't just get better from.
No, you can fail your checks and die.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's why when the zombie exploded on a bunch of people, and it's like, oh, you have zombie rot. Well, we got to get that cured immediately, or you're gonna start taking con damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then if you take enough of that, you die.
Yeah. So it's just annoying and like not so like. Now it could be a thing where it's like avoiding the disease or like knowing it's a danger is like one thing too, where it's like, okay, this zombie is festering, and it's like, you know, and it looks like it's about to blow. Then maybe you could do something about it. But it's just the way Pathfinder modules are just really do handle disease is just like, it's a mechanic. It hits you, you disease. You failed your check, you disease.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it's diseases much more so than, like, poisons can be poisons can be bad. But usually poisons have a time limit before they, like, stop. And so it's like, oh, okay, I've been poisoned for this period of time. It's fine. I've you know, gotten through it. You know, some poisons, most of them don't do con damage. Some can do con damage then, so you could theoretically die to them if there's really high rolls or very low con and stuff like that. But, you know, I think that's, like, it's the thing that's also, like, Pathfinder as a system is definitely much more, got a lot of that brutal old system stuff, you know, than...
One of the problems with disease in Pathfinder, especially disease that does ability score damage, you have to first either cure or wait out the disease until you save, and then you have to take days to recover your score damage. And if you're in an adventure path, you can't do that, because you're on a time limit in most adventure paths.
I think the good thing about
and that's why I said like in like Traveler, which is a game that has a lot of downtime. You have like it takes 7 days to travel between 2 places minimum.
Yeah. I also think that's why I think like I do feel like the adventure path we're doing, the Curse of the Crimson Throne, feels a little bit better because there isn't like timelines like there was in some of the other ones. Like it's very nebulous a lot more, you know. Like if you have a problem,
well, this next section probably there is, but
yes and
like it's
no.
literally called like the Week of Hell or something like that.
Yes and no. Look, you know.
Also, want to point out that the game so far has been 12 sessions of you don't get to stop. You have to do these quests.
The thing is, I could have given you more time in between too, but like, I just was. For me, the less downtime was the way I was doing it for a degree too, because I was kind of like. I'm adding less downtime for the reason of there was a lot of downtime in Skulls and Shackles, and Skulls and Shackles felt like it dragged on a little bit here and there sometimes. So my entire thing has been place downtime in certain areas and kind of minimize it to a degree, which, yeah, it does have positives and negatives. I admit that too. Like, yeah. But...
Yeah, I mean, for, like, a spellcaster, occasional downtime is fine. For, like, my character, who's just a combatant, basically, I don't have much to do in downtime. It's like, I can go shopping, but I don't have the money to get what I want, so I can't do anything. That's why I thought of something more creative to do.
Yeah, but, again, like, I feel like it's also me trying to figure out what a good balance is, too. I was just trying to, like, see, like, how long would running through the first adventure be a little bit, too? Because certainly... Actually, in between some of these things, I could have had a couple of days here and there, you know, to do stuff. Would that have been better or not? I was trying to keep the momentum of the story, too, going. That's the kind of thing of trying to balance, you know, like, the gameplay versus the show. And trying to work on that a little bit, too. So, but yeah, no, I think it's just... There's mass afflictions tend to be problems to solve that are just like another piece of in the jigsaw puzzle kind of thing too. I think it just ends up being more fantasy or fantastical sometimes with like curses. Diseases are more realistic, real world, but you know. That one tends to be harder to be like, I can solve it by this, too, you know. If it's a magical disease, maybe there's a magical cure. There's not, if it's just a normal disease, well, you know, maybe you have to get some supplies from somewhere or something.
Yeah, I will say, because I assume there's going to be some form of plague outbreak in some kind of potentially streamed Pathfinder game. And I'm going to assume the book is like, here's a DC and what the plague does to players. You could just not.
The thing is, I will tell you, I can just ignore like basic exposure chances unless you do specific things that would get you exposed.
Unless someone goes and puts themselves at risk, it may be best to just... And this doesn't just go for Pathfinder, it's mostly joking. But in any disease scenario, unless a player goes to a specific risk, you should just plot immune the player until they expose themselves in some kind of risky way. Yeah. Because it will not slow your game down if someone...
Look, I can reveal now because honestly, you know, you're going to run into it next session. Yes, it's a plague. It's going to happen.
I assume there's going to be some kind of...
And that was one of the reasons why I thought Lightning's cleric character would be great to come in, because there's a plague happening, you know? Yes. That links the cleric very well. And the thing is, there is a mechanic that, depending on your actions... There is an actual thing that I don't know the results of it overall. I have to read up on it more, of how many people die in the city.
I mean, that's fair.
You know, that's the only thing that your characters can affect, kind of. You know, you can do actions to help mitigate the death, you know.
It's very much the big thing of... and again, I was mostly joking about the Pathfinder, because I assume the AP is not like, you could kill your players with this. Even though most Pathfinder games would, in mechanically would do that, but most APs are like, they don't want the players to die.
I'm gonna admit, like, it's they give you like a kind of plague that's kind of like, this will kill commoners very easily, kind of thing.
We're almost all 5 characters were built different.
Yeah.
Literally, we have higher stats.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that would probably live, but a lot of like your general level 1 characters that are a lot of people in
general.
The city.
Why I don't use disease very much is because it puts too much of a risk onto players, whereas the curse, it doesn't. Honestly, the curse is less risky to your PCs.
Because a mass curse, usually your PCs are coming in after it's had its effect. You just have to like look into it and help the people that are hit by it. Yeah, so that's why I feel like...
But again, but also if it affects your player, it's a plot device.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, fine. It's like, okay, you are now with this curse, and you will die in 5 days if you don't know how to break it. You know, it's like, okay, that's a plot device. You know?
Yeah, cause, like, again, like, next session, you're definitely going to get into this entire thing with it, so, you know, the reveal that there's something going on, you already suspect it, you'll run into it pretty quickly, and, you know... It won't take long, you know, from where you are, because honestly, it's not a huge thing to deliver the person. I rolled for maybe you could fight something on the way. I might not do that still. I haven't decided.
I mean, fights are fine.
Yeah, it just would have been like, that's what I had you roll the D100 for, was there's the outside the city random encounter chart that I just was like, oh, we'll take a look at here, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the general rule, I don't know if the book actually does this. Are you just supposed to roll every time, or does the book do...
No, actually, the book suggested if you want to add because the beginning of the book tracks experience, they're like, if you want to add a little bit more experience of your characters behind, you could do an encounter here. That's all they say.
Okay.
So,
because, like, you know. More modern modules, or okay, I should say, D&D 5e modules that do this, that I've read, basically you roll a d20, and on the 20 you do an encounter. So every time they travel, you roll a d20, and if you get a 20, then
I think if you're doing overland travel in most situations, like a percentile for Pathfinder, like again, this time here it just said like it gave me the suggestion if I wanted to add something. So that's why it's sort of like I'm just having you level up at like milestones, so I don't worry about experience. Yeah. So it'd just be like if I want to add a combat or not.
It'd just be, yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to, like, have to just deal with that. I'm someone who actually does enjoy those kind of random encounters to some degree, because I think they're fun little tactical things. However, I say that, and then I realize, but then I also think, Kentis doesn't use maps, so I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, Kentis wouldn't use a map unless it's like...
Oh, I can find a generic, like, a road map, you know.
Yeah, but... I'm just like, I do like the tactical aspect of it.
The big thing with random encounters to me is they just slow the game down if you're not using experience.
Yeah. Again, that's why I'm like... They're... Because, I'm going to tell you, Trinia can show up again in the adventure and can be helpful to you, so this is supposed to be like, also if you want a bonding moment with her and see what she can do, it's an option for, like, you know, developing it, but I could also do stuff to, like, you know, she can chat with you for, like, freaking 20 minutes.
I mean, you know, we should probably have some kind of chat with that NPC.
Because, again, like, she's someone you've helped out, so if you need help in the future, there's a person you can call upon. And also, she is, like, a bard that's, like, 7th level, you know?
Also, there you go, Tantus. Lightning solved the plague, he ate it.
Oh, that's good. But, yeah, no, honestly speaking, you know, I'll have to do a good transition point, because, we've got 3 more sessions before Lightning would come in, then I guess.
I have no idea.
Because been 3 since Sal told us they had to kind of depart?
I can't tell you. Every week's blend together for me.
I'll have to figure it out.
Right now, well, let's see.
I didn't even know today was Saturday.
I just remember when he's... this is the second session. We just had the second session after he told us, but I don't remember how long he said.
I thought this was the 3rd session, because we had the 2... We'd have to look back on it.
So we just had our second after he told us.
Really? I thought it was longer.
Where the frick is... There's Chris.
God. Yeah, I have to like find the right.
Anyway,
Yeah, I'd also
we can look
just
at this
bring
later.
lightning in sooner.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can,
honestly
you can just add
speaking,
an extra spot for a while.
yeah, I can just figure out an extra spot for a little while or something to introduce the character before the one leaves and the other comes in. You know, I'll have to just look at where the perfect point in the story would be to pop in. You know, so I'll have to talk to Lightning about it. So this is coming soon anyway. But I mean, that's another reason I thought about like talking about this topic, because that's like the curse one is definitely one that I feel like works a lot easier, and like this one here, it is basically the plot line of book 2. I'm sorry to say, you know, it's like, you know,
curses are just easy because
yeah.
they can be anything. They can be minor, they can be major. Your players can be immune to them. Disease is a harder one because disease is communicable.
Yeah, and very easily your players could be exposed.
Yeah, curses, yeah, it's just not something that I just don't think it's good to use as like a like it's not good to use like a poison. Like a poison is like okay, like they generally have mechanical effects. And it's like if you use disease like that, it's like okay, and then you can give it to someone else. It's like wait, what's going on? You know,
well,
it's generally not that interesting.
I think you could do like a poison thing where like oh someone's poisoned the well and everybody's getting sick in town. It's not enough poison to kill someone directly, but you have to then like you know figure out a way to unpoison it or solve who did it or something. You know.
I also feel like you know if you got weird players, like your players are weird things. They might just not get the disease.
That's true.
Because statistically speaking, like a Dragonborn is going to have a different immune system than a human.
I don't even know if like the disease would affect Worm's character because his type is dragon, not humanoid.
I'm undead.
Yeah, you're technically half undead. Well, I think you resist diseases and stuff, don't you?
I have technically a +2 against diseases.
Yeah, you're not completely immune, but you're resistant to a lot of them too, which would help if there's an exposure. But yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of questions about it. It's interesting.
It has been 3 weeks for Cell.
Okay, I thought it was 3,
and he's got 3, and he's got 3 more. So
yeah. So you know, probably like in a week or 2, I would start thinking about introducing lightning at that point in time. I depending on where the story is, it might be better to introduce lightning before Cell goes or after Cell goes. Like it depends on if there's like a good point where Cell leaves in this part of the story, and then I could add in lightning there. I'll take a look, you know, because also it depends on how quickly you guys go through the story. Also, I mean that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it's if you want to use the mass afflictions, go ahead. I definitely think they're interesting story points, but be careful about a lot of the way you use them and be smart about it. You know, curses easier, poisons a little bit in the middle, and I think diseases are the hard one to do. So keep that in mind.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the thing about curses, I'd say also is that like make sure the rules are clear. Even if the players don't know them, make sure you do, because it can be like because that's the thing, like where it's all like it can be a curse that is spread through eye contact, and everyone in the town is constantly like is looking away from everyone else, you know. And it's like you can like drop hints like that, but you need to know how it works to make it work. Because if you do make a curse communicable, because you can, make sure you know the rules. Yeah. And that's what's fun about curses; they can be more esoteric and weird.
Yeah.
But diseases, it's like you know how they spread, contact, and players, especially from the 21st century with modern healthcare and disease and understanding of how diseases work. It's very much like,
yeah, you probably still understand enough of it, like, and I think that's the thing too. Is it's harder to kind of trick players with disease stuff. You know, even if they are kind of more magical in nature, because there is always a level of it that is like normal that you know your players might know because of their modern sensibilities.
And just the way diseases work, it's like, I mean, Fantas is sick right now. It's like it just makes you low energy. It just makes you not want to do things, and it's like, does your character then have to roleplay that? For how many sessions? You know, it's just not. It's like the roleplay side of it isn't very fun. The mechanical side of it isn't very fun. So it's better to use it as a plot device.
Yeah.
And something to avoid and give
Yeah.
the players
And again,
immunity, unless they really...
Yeah, it's if you do something to get exposed, you'll be exposed. But if you're smart enough, you just don't have to worry about it. Like, there's definitely like a couple of points, I could have you check, but I'm also like I could just not bother if I don't need to. So, how about we talk about our? Yeah, I can agree with that. Let's talk about our weekend gaming. We didn't have a Sunday game. Did anybody else do anything on Sunday?
I had Sunday.
I had something last Saturday, which is why I couldn't be here.
Okay. Why don't we start with Saturday, because that was last Saturday. Hey,
Yeah.
That's the oldest, technically.
Yep. So my friend who has been making a RPG custom system for a while wanted to run a game to test it. It's going to be 3 games, although the time frame is more when he can get people. Or the people who accepted to play.
Yeah.
But anyway, the current thing is, so I'm playing a half human, half dragon person, because his system is very system for races is interesting. It's all based around like a very magical system. It's a post-apocalyptic, very magic post-apocalyptic world where basically like all the gods are dead.
Okay.
And basically the residual, it's actually a cool world because like the residual magic from like artifacts are what keep people safe. And if you leave these areas, you have chances to be warped or tainted by ambient magic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool world, and the system built around it is in the works. I can give it that much. It's interesting. He was taking a role play. It was taking a social stuff is role play only, so you don't really get social stats as a result. Basically, mental and physical.
Interesting.
Anyway, it's a fun system. Anyway, the plot so far is some person had a prophecy that the world's going to end, or that this town that we're in is going to blow up or something, and he's basically all like, "I want to study it," and then we're all in our group, and so that's what I came here to do, is find out what's going to happen. It's like, and we're just like, okay, well maybe we could stop it. And he's all like, but I want my prophecy to come true, so that way people know that I'm. It's like a weird, funny little guy. But the people he's with are like, no, we can try. We'll see. Anyway, so we're just trying to figure out what the heck is going to happen because we don't actually know. We just know something is.
Cool. And Momo, you said you had something on Sunday then?
Yeah. Lightning started a new game on Sundays. I play a 6'8" Dragonborn cleric in that game. And we were defending a caravan that got attacked, and I walked into a group of 5 people and cast Spirit Guardians and killed most of them. And we fought a very long fight against bandits because certain bandit stat blocks may have too much hit points. But it was pretty fun. We have, funnily enough, a second Dragonborn, unrelated to mine. We have a weird dwarf man who's some kind of monk, and then some kind of fox person rogue.
Interesting selection of folks.
Fun time. Fox person rogue kept getting crit. And then, it just happens sometimes. And that person's also a new player, so the new player got to be crit like 3 times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the dwarf also, I think, just has clinical depression.
Ah, poor dwarf. Well, anybody do anything on Monday or Tuesday?
I did a thing on Tuesday.
Taking a break from Baldur's Gate. So
yeah, that's fair. I mean, technically I did more Baldur's Gate, but I'm not going to talk about that. I've talked about that enough on this show.
Sounds good.
I've been talking about my first playthrough.
My friend Jay Started running a game on Tuesdays. I don't know if that game's going to continue or not. Because he has life stuff.
I heard about his life stuff.
Yeah,
so,
it's pretty sad. And we are investigating some horrific murders, and it's a little weird because he's already run this adventure, and I was there for it, so I kind of know the plot. Of having to try my best to forget things.
I have been in this situation before, so I understand. Where you're like,
I didn't realize he was going to run the exact same game, or I wouldn't have joined.
It might be slightly
You can
different.
still have fun with that.
Lightning plays a goblin. I did a dice roll because I'm a noble drow. I made some assumptions about goblins and how they're all horrible thieves. Told Lightning's goblin character to lockpick a safe. Got called racist, then Lightning started to pull out thieves' tools and lockpick the safe.
You know? Yep.
See, all that does is reinforce my knowledge that all goblins are in fact thieves.
Yep. So sounds like an interesting time.
I'm an artificer in that game.
Did we Worm, was it earlier in the week that Yumi and Joe played Flamecraft, the tabletop sim?
Yeah, we did that on Monday.
Monday, yes. We played some tabletop sim, we played some Flamecraft. Fun game, you know, Worm has introduced us to it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yep, I backed it. That's why I know about it. It's fun. I've been wanting to play it the second time we played it. Definitely want to play it again. I think it's got some Lords of Waterdeep vibes. It's like less backstabby Lords of Waterdeep.
That's a good description,
like.
I think. Yeah, you know. Oh, there's certain games that are like that, that are like less backstabby versions of things, or more backstabby. I think there are things that are more backstabby than Lords of Waterdeep too, but certainly I think that fits on it very good. That's a kind of like resource managey buildy kind of thing. So
yeah, because like you can kind of build things, although you build things by filling out spaces, and then you can kind of go to the spots to get things, and then that's how you get points. And
yeah,
it's got adorable dragon art.
Does have adorable
every
dragon.
time, it just makes me happy.
And then on Wednesday we started book 2, where you had some downtime in Crimson Queen, and then after your downtime, you start doing some things like you're no longer working for the guards technically, and
a couple other. Also a little bad for Joe's character of like quitting his original job, getting a better job, and getting fired.
It did actually happen that way. Because I think he's the one out of all of you that had like a job.
Yeah, he had an actual job.
He worked in the docks.
Oh yeah, Joe. Oh yeah, that was so funny. Oh, I got a new job now. I don't need to be. Oh, okay, I'm fired now.
You got fired.
Because my character was just like, well, I'm gonna be here a while. I'll see if I can make a place for myself. I'm gonna be here a while.
We stole some abandoned house first, though.
Look, I asked.
A ghost is technically not the proper authorities to ask, but that doesn't matter.
Well, it's the one who... It's the one, you know, I mean... I thought about doing it more legitimately, but then I was just told that it would take, like, years for it to actually go through the proper channels. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess
no. It would be years before... No, what I was saying is, it would be years before the people that, like, before Corvosa would come to ask about the house. You know?
Yeah.
So you could just squat there for a couple of years if you really wanted to.
We can officially transfer the house to us, and then I get to dig out the handy-dandy Pathfinder tax mechanics, because there's property tax mechanics in Pathfinder.
I mean, to be fair, when we get... I looked it up in that part of the I think it's like 8,000 for a house. If we get that much, then we could just buy it.
You can also just steal the deed.
Tandis did say she could direct us to the deed if we wanted.
There's probably a deed at the... Well, actually, I don't know if there would be a deed at the house or if that would have been put in with the city hall. It might have been put in with the...
Generally file that.
Yeah.
Generally keep a copy, and then the official version is filed with the city.
Yes.
Yeah, so probably you have a copy and the officials, there.
And then generally you keep that copy in a safety deposit box. Or some sort of official place for its storage.
Yes, Lightning, we stole a house.
Yeah.
Basically, we're just kind of squatting.
Yep.
We technically have the owner on our purse at all times, right?
You do have the owner with you at all times.
Yeah.
Because
also have the permission of the owner.
Yeah.
You technically do, because she is... It's so weird, because she's not technically a ghost, because she basically merged with a magic item, which is, like, weirder. I guess she reincarnated as a magic item is a better way to say it.
That's an anime.
That
time I reincarnated into a tarot deck or some shit, right?
Yeah.
It's better than a vending machine.
Yeah, but it's fun. I enjoy.
Didn't someone say the vending machine was actually like?
The vending machine apparently is like a really good anime
because it's like
it just makes fun of the isekai genre.
Yeah, I didn't watch it because like. I was like, it's so stupid sounding, but I guess if it's like a parody, it might be.
Apparently it's very good from what I've heard.
I probably should watch it.
Yeah, but I think it's fine, and I do intend to buy it when I get the money.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm going to buy, it is expensive. It's like double the price of the magic item I want. So I'm gonna wait until I at least get the first magic item.
I'll be real. We can just buy it at the end of the campaign.
That's honestly what will probably happen. I'm probably going to keep putting this off. But my intention.
Mm-hmm. You intend to. Someone might show up to try to get property tax. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll pull out the mechanics for chances, don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if someone shows up to get property tax, I'll just
tax collector.
My character will just be like, "Here you go." If they question the people living there, they probably won't question it if they get the taxes.
There's one NPC you never fuck with, and it's a tax collector.
Mm-hmm. Anything happened on Thursdays?
You did a thing on Thursday, Tantus. You talk about it.
Oh god damn it! I have to talk about it. Well, I joined your game on Thursday.
Fucking dryad.
I'm playing a dryad. The thing is, here's how I imagine my character. I've actually figured this out, and I'll kind of say because I didn't really write down my backstory. I was an ancient dryad, probably one of those ones that like had lived a long time, was maybe like getting bored with life and would like either just become a tree or move on to the Feywild. When that orc character came and started telling me about the outside world and interested me in it, and I became kind of fascinated by the idea of religion, and so then were like the idea of the gods and stuff, So I went to a monastery, and I've been studying there since then. Which I wanted to like finish my training eventually, and I was like, oh, I do want to travel the world eventually, but there's still so much to learn here, like so many books to read or something like that. Because I'm 9th level, I'm probably at like a pretty high institution, and like with a massive library that I've been like reading for decades at this point in time. So I feel like I'm weirdly ancient because I'm a fae. So I'm just like, but the thing is, I don't think I've really been outside of either a forest or a monastery for all of my time that I've existed. So it's sort of like, this is my first time traveling to like a lot of inns and stuff, and I'm like, neat!
Yeah.
I wanted to do this eventually. I guess this is an excuse to do it. I'm the old person that's rediscovering life after finding, like there. That's the idea of my character. And we apparently someone altered reality to invite us here, and we don't know why they invited us, and now we're in like the Shadow Realm or something.
Got invited by a mysterious letter to meet your dear old friend who doesn't know why you're there.
Yeah.
And then you went to investigate a horrific murder, and you went into a very spooky place. Some spooky things happened. You found a book that's haunted. You carried around a beating heart for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And then you opened the portal to a horrible nightmare realm.
Yeah.
And you win it. You met a person on the other side.
They seemed fine.
Where the steps ended.
Yeah, they seemed fine. But they left us here too, so now we have to just like, explore on our own. It's like, god damn it.
You have a destination. You're going to go to where your friend's house is supposed to be.
That's true. You could totally maybe be there. Or
and I have to figure out how to introduce some kind of satyr. Because she had to miss the first session.
just kind of wandered.
I have to introduce a satyr at some point.
Wandered in, accidentally ended up here, you know, or something. The time I got isekai'd into the Shadow Realm. I don't know.
Just lost a Yu-Gi-Oh duel and ended up here.
It was time to do duel.
Hey, play pot agreed.
See, that's why he didn't read enough of the card.
Yeah, that's my game. It's very spooky so far, and that's probably going to be a consistent theme.
Ooh, spoopies. I am okay with some spoopiness. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Anything happened on Friday? Oh, I know what happened on Friday, but did you do anything on Friday, Momo?
I played Baldur's Gate.
Mm.
We killed goblins for like an hour.
Mm. Joe grabbed me and Worm again, and we did Munchkin, which we discovered that Steve Jackson Games had purged Tabletop Simulator of most of the Munchkins, except
makes
for like
sense.
So we were on like the base
I'd
game.
like to join for those, but I have to sleep early a lot of nights to go to work early.
That's what I actually said.
Unfortunately.
And Joe basically can only play late, so because he works until weird.
I'd like to get some Mysterium in or something again, but
yeah, definitely. There's a bunch of games that I would like to play more. Like I think that's the thing is I do like some tabletop sim. It's just sometimes it's like hard to find the time to grab everybody and stuff like that.
Planning.
Yeah, I should do more of that.
I'm totally down for a designated time where things happen if you're available.
Designation? Actually, like plan stuff properly.
Planning stuff and replying to your Discord DMs? Weird.
I sometimes do that. Or, well, the thing is, like, there are times where I'm, like, out and doing something, and I see the Discord DM, and then I'm like, oh, wait, I forget to respond to it.
Okay, so there's this thing you can do where if you are on your phone, you can go onto it and say, mark as unread, and then you can remember to look at it later.
I should probably start doing that, just in case after I check it and be like, mark as unread. That's probably something I should start doing. I don't do that, so then I forget, because then it disappears, and I'm like, oh, wait.
I actually do that a lot. So, in fact, sometimes it can sit for, like, a week, and I'm like, I feel bad, because I meant to reply to this sooner, and I haven't yet.
I think it's just from the last, like, year and a half, I've been a little worse at, messages and stuff, like, so I gotta, like, get my brain tracked back to the old days, you know?
I don't know. I feel like you've always been a little bad.
It was backlash from my old days of being the organizer for anything in the group with Joe and Blaze and myself. You know, I was the one that nothing would happen without me organizing it. So it was like I'm constantly doing that kind of stuff. So I was trained for it. And then as soon as I was able to stop doing that, I was like, "Yay, I can stop." But
actually, honestly, that actually sounds like understandable because it's like if you're used to organizing everything, your brain isn't used to being organized by other people.
Yeah.
Too.
But that's the thing is then so I stopped doing that, so no one really organizes anything anymore. It's like, God damn it, I could get back to that, so I could like get back to that. Anyway.
Someone who also tends to organize other people. I just haven't done it in a while because I've been busy.
No. Alright, well, I guess that's our week in tabletop. Good times, good times. It sounds like pretty busy. For a lot of weeks we've been kind of quiet, so it's nice to have a good busy week, isn't it, kind of, you know?
Yeah, a lot of game stuff happened this week, board and tabletop.
Yeah. Sounds fun. I guess that leaves us at everything for today. Unless there's anything else that either of you are thinking about. I think we've kind of hit all the major points and stuff, so. Thank you for joining. I don't have stuff fully set up, so I didn't record the Audacity for this one, so I'm not even bothering trying to set this up, because, you know, new computer stuff. I'll get back to trying to get more podcast side of things as soon as we're done. I was experimenting, figuring all that out, and finally getting into it, but now it's sort of like, well, you know,
I get it.
New computer stuff and all the issues and everything I'll get it done soon. So hopefully,
I have to help him figure. I have to figure out how to help him set up that so you don't hear his fan in the background anymore.
Yeah, it's just the background noise of like. It's actually, I think it's picking up the computer, which isn't that loud, but it's
Actually,
picking
yeah,
up like
I think
the
it's picking
background.
up the computer fan. Honestly, it's sometimes, yeah, because there's some fan noise in the background.
Yeah, that's not my normal fan. That's the computer fan, I think. And I'm like, when I take off the headphones, it is a low-lying noise, but it's not that loud as like when I hear it in the playback. So my microphone's just apparently sensitive and good that way.
So what I think it could be is, and I think this might also be the case for like mine, where it's just like because it's like your desk is connected to the floor, which is your computer's next to. It's like this subtle vibration through the system.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, just a little bit of vibration in the area.
I mean, that's why mics, you know, like that's why you get that arm for like a shock absorbing thing for like mics. That's what that's for, is to prevent that kind of stuff from happening. So.
Anyway, everybody, have a great rest of your Saturday. I'll be back on Monday for something. I don't know if it's going to be a long stream, if I'm going to do gaming or something. Just because with all the computer setup stuff and me being sick this week, I didn't get as much stuff as I wanted done. So I might just keep it simple and spend a little extra time working on things. But it'll be a relatively normal schedule next week. I'll at least do some gaming on one of the days. So, and then tabletop stuff should be normal then. So, all right. Everybody, have a great rest of your Saturday/weekend, and hopefully see you next Saturday at the same time, 6 p.m. for We're Discussing Tabletop. Thank you once again to Momo and Lightning for joining me. Not Lightning, Lightning and Worm. Lightning's in chat. Worm, do you want to shout out stuff?
Oh, yeah.
God, my brain is so, like...
I'm Diamondwyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/Diamondwyrm or at Diamondwyrm on Twitter. Yeah, I've been anticipating your goodbye for a while now, and it's not happening. That's why. Anyway, the visual gag here has been kind of me. I'm just like waving, and then I'm like, ugh, as you move on to something else.
This is my brain not working. Yeah.
Well, now I know.
Yeah. Anyway, later. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.